All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you. ML Sports Take here, brought to you by Rosie's Corner. They were closed on New Year's Day, of course, back open this weekend. Pizza, wings, pasta, hot and cold subs, and more. A huge NFL Sunday. Make sure you get all your food from Rosie's Corner. Also available on Grubhub. Go check them out on Instagram and Facebook as well. Rosie's Corner, the normal 9-minute with Mike Lindsley segment sponsor, every Friday. Just a little bit of an ML Sports Take here instead, shorter version. Previewing the Dolphins-Bills game today in Buffalo. Major storylines. This is a huge game. Number one, the Buffalo Bills, they can get the 2 seed with a win. They can still get it with a loss, and that would be a Pittsburgh loss happening as well to the Cleveland Browns. The Miami Dolphins can get into the postseason with a win or a loss in multiple different situations outside of this game. With a loss by other clubs. And, of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick out in this game with the coronavirus. It'll be Tua Tagovailoa starting for the Miami Dolphins. And I don't understand why it's so debatable about the Buffalo Bills getting the 2 versus the 3 seed. This is a non-discussion. There's no debate. The Bills need to get the number 2 seed. And I did a video on this earlier in the week. I don't understand why people are voting against this and saying, well, just rest the entire roster. It makes no sense to me. Think about this for a second. In no particular order, the Buffalo Bills have an opportunity to host 2 playoff games. Number 2, the Buffalo Bills can avoid the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round of the NFL playoffs. Number 3, if the Buffalo Bills win their first playoff game and the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, stumble out of the gate in their first playoff game, well, the Bills then, of course, have the opportunity to pave the way to go host. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I have to stop myself. They have an opportunity to host for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Now, again, let's backtrack a little bit. The Bills, as a 2 seed, would have to play right out of the gate because there's no bye week for the 2 seed this year. The only team that gets a bye is a 1 seed. In the old NFL days, without the expanded playoffs and the 7 seed not existing, you'd have the number 1 and the 2 getting byes. This year, they've allowed one more wild card team in, which means if the Bills get the 2 seed and they win that first game, they move on to the second round, of course. And in that situation, if the Bills are the 2 seed and the Chiefs' first game is the 1 seed, the Bills win and the Chiefs lose, you could have the AFC Championship game hosted in Orchard Park. Now, again, 1 game at a time, 1 quarter at a time, 1 week at a time, but you have to look big picture here, and it would be interesting for me for Sean McDermott to completely fold the tent because he is a guy who doesn't like to rely on other teams for his team's outcome. In other words, control your own destiny. Focus. Stay here. Tunnel vision. Let's control us. That's what he always says. So it would be shocking for me to see Sean McDermott rest, 75% of the roster. Having said that, the Bills are already without Cole Beasley at wide receiver. The Bills, I think, will rest a lot of guys on defense. Perhaps Jerry Hughes the whole game. Matt Milano, been playing a ton of reps. He played nearly 90% of the reps last week. Perhaps he sits the whole game. Well, you see Tremaine Edmonds play maybe the first quarter, and that's it. What about the safeties in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer? Micah Hyde was very outspoken this past week saying he wants to play as a competitor, but it won't be up to him. Will they rest a lot of their big guys, knowing full well that they have to play next week? There's also a huge factor in this game because not only is today at play for all from all sides for both these clubs, what about next week? What happens if the Bills get the 2 seed and the Dolphins make the playoffs? The Bills might have to try to beat the Dolphins 3 times in a year and twice in the same week. That is a scenario for next week in Orchard Park. The Dolphins could just stay in Western New York, wait for all the finals, and just stay up there and practice and train and get ready for the cold and all that sort of thing. That is a real possibility. The Bills trying to beat the Dolphins 3 times in a season and twice in a week, depending on today's outcome. So that's another thing at play. Depending on the offense here, Josh Allen, it was leaked out by a source at ESPN, perhaps Allen and Diggs and some others on offense, some guys on the offensive line will play today. But for how long? Could Sean McDermott even scoreboard watch a little bit behind the scenes? He would never probably admit to it in full in the postgame. He might a little bit. He's a pretty honest guy. But that could be a scenario as well where you play Allen maybe first quarter, second quarter, try to get up maybe by a couple of scores. It's going to be hard against a very good defense of Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins. And then scoreboard watch and hope that you can ground and pound, control the clock, get a turnover, allow Zach Moss and Devin Singletary in the backfield to control the game, play action, Matt Barkley, and go from there. But again, if the Bills don't have the star-studded lineup on offense, all the way. This is going to be a hard game to win because Miami's going for it here. They've got to win this game. They can't rely on the scenario outside of it. They've got to go win the football game. Worst case scenario for the Bills is they lose this game and the Steelers win and the Bills drop to a number 3, and they have to go through the Chiefs anyway to get to the Super Bowl. That's the absolute worst case scenario for the Bills. The worst case scenario for the Dolphins is they lose this game and everybody else wins, and they don't even get into the postseason. I think Brian Flores really wants to get in to the postseason. It'd be a nice little chink in the armor. It'd be a nice little notch in his belt to get into the playoffs. They've already overachieved this year. Why not overachieve all the way? And the Dolphins get into the postseason. So a lot at stake here. If the Bills rest a lot of guys on defense, do expect Miami to get a ton of chunk yardage running the football and then allowing Tua Tagovailoa, who again, he showed flashes this year, but it's been very inconsistent for him. He hasn't had to go out and win a game a la Breeze, Brady, Manning, Josh Allen this year. Mahomes, Rodgers, etc., Russell Wilson. He hasn't had to go out and win a game. And when I say Manning, I mean Peyton Manning is prime. He hasn't had to go out and win a game all the way like normally the elite quarterbacks have to. Now, again, he's only a rookie. It's early. They've had a lot of ground and pound games. They played great defensively. They've been well coached. But Ryan Fitzpatrick has actually had to go out and win more games than Tua. Today, Tua, no matter what the scenario is for the Bills resting players, etc. on defense, he has to go win this football game for Miami. Very interesting spot here. He's a big game player. He played at Alabama, played on the big stage, played for Nick Saban. He knows how to get it done. So watch for that storyline as well. And by the way, I can't believe the Buffalo Bills next week can have 6,700 fans in the playoff game, but they can't have 6,700 fans today for the finale. It's just so inconsistent, this coronavirus stuff with the fans and all the rest. I'm going to go Bills 24-19 with the unknown of how many guys are going to sit on both sides of the football, but this game could go either way because of that exact reason. Mike Lindsley with you, ML Sports Take, brought to you by Rosie's Corner. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.